We are live from Ibiza for another episode of Cafe DM with your host, Michelle Reid, my special co-host, Emma Sabin, and our special guest, Hannah Clarke. Hello, ladies. Another trifecta of fantasticness today. How are we?
Good morning.
Good.
Hi, everyone.
So for those who have been watching back, this episode, we have Emma Sabin with us again, and we're going to be diving deep into emotion and how that affects the body for dis-ease, hence our special guest, Hannah Clarke. And for people who've been watching, they know that Breast Cancer Awareness Month is marked in all countries across the world and every October. So we've been spending our whole October talking about our journey to remission with our special co-host, Emma Sabin. So again, thank you for being here again, Emma. I appreciate it. And so again, another trifecta of the three of us here after Nathan last week as well. So if everyone could stick around, they could click subscribe when you're watching this on YouTube, and of course, share the love to anybody who needs to see this. And I'm going to introduce our special guest, who is Hannah Clarke, coming all the way from Ibiza in her living room as well. She's a plant medicine facilitator who has special interest in blocked emotions and how they create dis-ease in the body, and very much an island energy expert. So thank you very much for being at the cafe. I appreciate it, Hannah.
Thanks so much for having me, Michelle. It's lovely to be here this morning. I feel honoured to be Emma's special guest.
Cool. Yeah. I'm honoured to have you both here. And our first conversation for all of our guests, and this is the first time ever I don't have a fucking cup of coffee.
Oh no! Where's Mark?
Oh my God. So ladies, what's brewing?
Go, Han.
Okay, well, I'll talk you through my morning ritual is I have a little green powder of some concoction, usually with a bit of ashwagandha. I never know how to say that. Indian ginseng, with some apple cider vinegar. And then I have hot water lemon. And then I have had a coffee this morning as well.
Wow. Is that a special honor for Cafe DM?
Yeah, well, I just thought a nice little extra boost.
And Emma, what's in your cup this morning?
Well, I've run out of mushroom coffees, so I've made a concoction as well. I have matcha, collagen, coconut oil, and I added a little bit of cacao in there as well, obviously with sea salt. So yeah, cheers everyone.
If I could only just jump through. Wow. The very first time in 24 episodes, I don't have a cup of coffee sitting beside me.
What's happening? What went wrong? I love it. Yay. Well done, Mark.
Cheers, ladies.
Oh, that's service. Cheers.
I love it. Nice to see you all. I appreciate it. From your living room to my living room. Cool. When you drink coffee, Hannah, though, what coffee do you drink?
It depends. I mean, I just like black coffee, but just fair trade, something or other. Yeah, just kind of regular, whatever I can find.
And Emma is drinking a delicious concoction.
Yes, from my cauldron.
Yeah, exactly. With Halloween coming up. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So from what's brewing to spilling the beans, Hannah Clarke. So I want to know, and everybody watching wants to know, what is your origin story? How did you get into the plant medicine, the emotions, the continued schooling that you're doing?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I think it all began when I was living in London and I was working in television, and I was very much living that work hard, play hard kind of life. I'd lived a very hedonistic life up until that point, and I kind of hadn't really known anything different to that for a long time. And I always wanted to work in television. I'd progressed in my career in TV, and kind of started to realize that my dream that had always been my dream wasn't really my dream anymore. And I guess now I know I really was experiencing what you would call an existential crisis. It sounds very, very serious, but it's something that as a human, most people experience. It's that kind of, what is my purpose? What is lacking? What is the meaning of my life here? And I kind of knew that I was functioning on probably about 30% of my capacity. You know, I was partying at the weekend, I was feeling crap in the week, and I knew that I sort of had a question of what could I achieve? I can achieve all that I'm achieving now, functioning on this much of my capacity. So what could I achieve if I really did something else? You know, if I changed and did something else, what could I achieve? And I was looking for something. I was looking for something life-changing. I wanted to shake things up, but I didn't know how that looked. I didn't know what I was going to find. Excuse me. But a few friends had done something called Vipassana, 10-day silent meditation. And I thought, I'll give that a go, you know, why not? I'd never really meditated before. They all seemed to get a lot out of it. No one could really tell me what it was going to look like or what I was going to experience. So I just thought, I'll give it a go. And I thought I was going to be floating above, you know, everyone in the room. I thought I was going to be essentially out of my mind, so I wouldn't really know what was happening. And I think when I had the realization that I was going to be aware of every second of every minute of every hour of that 10 days, I was like, fuck. Kind of the panic set in. But then I realized that it was about really emptying my mind of all this crazy busyness, and it was about being really present and seeing what came up in my body, seeing what came up in, you know, in my mind, in my emotions. And, you know, the kind of realization, I guess, over time that all this time partying, as much as it was fun, a lot of it was a distraction. A lot of it was to numb my emotions, to numb any feelings. And all of this stuff started to come back in. And I started to feel this energy in my body like I'd never felt before. And then coincidentally, I'd heard about ayahuasca. I'd spent time in the Amazon years before, but I wasn't on this path. And it's something that I wanted to try. And it kind of came to me just after Vipassana. So in a way, I thought it was perfect preparation, because they say it's good to not have stimulation. It's good to not watch TV. It's good to abstain from sex and all the things I was doing in Vipassana. So I did that about 4 days after Vipassana. So it's kind of two life-changing things, very, very close together, which not necessarily advisable. Not that anything bad happened, but it's kind of nice to give yourself time to really integrate what you've experienced and what it's given you.
It was
through
right
ayahuasca,
for you at the time.
Say again, sorry.
It was right for you at the time.
It was. I mean, it's just how it happened. Yeah. It's how it happened. But, you know, I went into my journey with ayahuasca thinking that it was going to give me all the answers. It was going to give me my life purpose. It was going to, you know, sort out all my problems. It was going to be life-changing in a way that I thought I wanted it to be life-changing. And that just wasn't the case at all. And I was quite naive in the way that I went into it. And actually, I just sort of went back to my old life, which didn't make me feel very good, because I'd kind of been opened up to this world and then just gone back. But I slowly started to change my life outside of that, and I slowly started to calm down and look into what I was doing and what was really serving me and what wasn't. And actually I went to the place I drank ayahuasca at again, and I actually met some people, and they introduced me to this group of more like conscious people. And it's through that group that I heard Kambo mentioned for the first time, which is it's a medicine from a frog from the Amazon. And something just kind of sparked my interest straight away. And I thought, I want to try that. And I knew someone who'd just recently trained. So I thought I'll give it a go, as a few of my friends wanted to try as well. And so I tried it. And I would say, you know, overnight, it just seemed to turn me vegetarian. It just seemed to remove any blocks that I had to... I knew that kind of vegetarianism was coming for me again, but I wasn't ready because I enjoyed the taste of meat. You know, I used to be a vegetarian when I was a child. But just something overnight clicked, and it was like, what are you waiting for? You know you like the taste. Do you want that one last pork belly, that one last hamburger, whatever it is? It just kind of removed any question in my mind. And it just seemed very clear, like, you just can't do it anymore. And it was like, oh, yeah, can't do it anymore. And they say Cambo, they call it the great revealer, because it can bring you a lot of clarity. And one common thing that it seems to do is change people's relationships with alcohol and with drugs. And that's certainly what it did for me. And I saw the kind of difference it had made to my life and to some of my friends' lives. And so I decided to train in it. And so that is kind of, that's partly it. And I guess I've carried on that journey and added a few different things now. And I guess most people end up going into something that's helped them. And so that helped me. And so that's kind of why I went into that. And now I'm also training to be a psychotherapist as well, because I see the need for both elements. So
cool. Yeah. Very cool. From that then, how did you end up in Ibiza, Hannah?
Well, Ibiza it's been a long love affair. I kind of when I was about 16, an older friend told me about this mythical place and said they'd take me, but they were just talking rubbish and they had no intention of bringing me here. But it just got in my mind, and some other friends were coming here. So me and my best friend joined them and came here for a 2-week holiday, which was, mind-blowing. We then came on holiday a couple more times, and then I did 2 seasons working out here, and I was 18 and 19. And I just met most of the amazing friends, a lot of them that I have today that are still my friends kind of 20 years on. And then I guess I just had this realization when I was at a wedding out here in 2016, and it was just, hang on, why don't I live here? I've come here every year. I've done a lot of traveling in my life. Yeah, Ibiza is the only place I really ever wanted to be. There's something about this place that just, it's not really a choice. I think if Ibiza gets you, it just calls you in, and you have to be here. And it was such a simple epiphany. It was just like, really, this is what I've always wanted. So why not live here? And I think a part of me just thought I couldn't do it. Part of me, I think there was maybe some self-worth stuff there, just thinking that other people can do it, but I can't. And I think fear. And when I broke it down and realized that it was just fear stopping me, I just realized how kind of crazy that was, and that if I just put fear to one side, what's the worst thing that could happen? It doesn't work out, and I just go back. It's not really, I'm not losing anything. So, Ibiza is, this island brings me so much joy. I am completely besotted with this place, and who knows if I'll be here forever, but I'm so happy to be here right now.
100% agreed, right? Who knows what's going to happen, but we are all very fortunate to be here right now. Cool. Some shivers there, Hannah, for sure. So do you remember meeting Emma for the first time?
I do.
How did you two meet?
Well, actually, all of us have a bit of a common thread, actually, because Emma and I met in the first Spanish lessons that I took out here.
Yes.
And I met you through Spanish lessons too. So, still can't speak Spanish, but,
sadly. For people who might be considering a move to Ibiza, I love how gung-ho everybody is at the very beginning learning Spanish. And speaking from 3 years and trying many different ways to learn Spanish, I still can't fluently speak it. So yeah, cool. So Spanish. So, and then in terms of your emotional connection and your emotional bond, how are you guys connected, Emma?
Gosh, well, Hannah and I have a shared interest in Cambo. I first used Cambo actually to help me get over chemotherapy. And that then started the path. I went into it physically, and then it started the path into ayahuasca, et cetera. And so Hannah and I have a great understanding and shared understanding of how emotions affect the body and how that affects ill health. And so today is really, emotions and cancer they're probably the most discounted set part, I would imagine, because there's no scientific evidence. And actually, I wanted to say a quote, actually, if that's okay, by Hippocrates. Not the normal one, so not food is thy medicine, and medicine is thy food. And interestingly, just talking about the food aspect, obviously food is a great way of healing cancer. And we haven't talked about that in these podcasts, even though I consider it to be a big aspect of my healing. But you have had a lot of nutritionists, and I know you're going to have a lot of nutritionists on your show who've shared a wealth of knowledge. And I just felt it would be a waste to kind of go over that. And that's why I really wanted to focus on the other energetic aspects, which were obviously mitochondria, today emotions, and next week, we're going to EMF. But the quote I just wanted to highlight for today's conversation, which I know Hannah will connect with, is Hippocrates, as I said. If someone wishes for good health, one must first ask oneself if he is ready to do away with the reasons for his illness. Only then is it possible to help him. Because we all know deep down, as Hannah has alluded to, not listening to our intuition, and numbing. And, I think emotions, we're in such a big society where it's normal to numb. It's normal not to feel. It's normal to just not sit here and be angry or whatever. And the last 7 years have taught me that, for me, emotions has been a massive impact in my ill health. All my life, not just with the cancer, but in the years preceding it. Because when you're stressed, whether it's with, trauma with a capital T or with a small t, and let's just highlight that trauma is perception of trauma. So what I perceive as stressful, you might not perceive as stressful, but how that affects my body and how that affects my immune system and my parasympathetic, and we'll go into the nervous system. That has a massive impact on the homeostasis of my body, or our body, and I realized, I discounted it for a long time, but I realized that, you can eat right, you can live in the right environment, but if you're not feeling and you're not dealing with maybe emotions that have been blocked in, since your childhood, there's absolutely no point. So it is another part of the perfect storm. And as I said, I think, I think I alluded to this in the first episode. I talked about the very tightly closed box of emotions in my heart that had been mentioned by ex-boyfriends, therapists, and cancer's managed to, hammer that open, as have other really traumatic events in my life, like my father's death. And so what's happened in the last 7 years is I've learnt ways to deal with them. And so that's why I really wanted to invite Hannah on, because, as I said, I started with Cambo because a lady in a natural health shop said to me, "Oh, you should try Cambo." And I was like, "What is this?" Frog medicine, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? When I think of the weird and wonderful things I've done. But now I realize Cambo, was more than the physical. It opened up, it helped me connect. And then that led me on to, other plant medicines, psychedelics. And I call those like breath work. I've called them bullets to the soul, into my soul, because I needed to hammer that open. But I've also used inner child therapy. And that's what we're going to discuss today, which obviously, Hannah has a great understanding of. And I really feel there's so much scientific evidence now that I don't want it to be discounted. I really wanted to bring this up for everyone to be aware of, that how we feel really affects our body. Mm-hmm. And it's not airy fairy hippie stuff. It really isn't.
No, it isn't.
So and Hannah and I, we just have a huge shed, and as a friend and also a professional, I can see what she's doing, and I love the fact that she's now combining talking therapy with the physical, the plant medicine. So
incredible. So we are talking about it. Not what we're going to talk about. We are talking about it. What's the first thing that comes to mind then, Emma or Hannah, when we're talking about plant medicine and how it can release blocked emotions?
Do you want to go, Hannah?
I mean, it's quite a question. I think I really love this analogy that someone's talked about plant medicine, that it takes you, if you can imagine your mind or your emotions, it takes you, it basically unlocks the gates. So you still have to do the work, you still have to walk inside, but it does open something up for you. And I think it's really important to say it's not a magic wand, that there is no such thing as a magic wand. But I know from personal experience and from experience watching other people who've gone through working and releasing trauma, a friend comes to mind who lost her mum and had to deal with the grief of that, and that was before she ever tried plant medicine. And then she lost a boyfriend, and she dealt with the grief, which is, you know, grief it's a process. It's a, you know, a 9-step process which you can't avoid, you can't escape. But through plant medicine, she actually managed to just get through that. She said so much quicker than she would have done, you know, so much in such a deeper way. And it gets you out of the way. You know, our minds, as you've touched on lots of times, you know, our minds are so busy, and it can just move us to one side. It can really, it's like an outside influence. It's all us, but it's like this outside influence sort of connecting with us, meeting us, and just allowing me or you or any of us to see things just a little bit more clearly. It kind of, you know, can really, for someone like myself, very similarly to Emma, you know, I was not an angry person, you know, I definitely have made that statement, definitely really proud that I'm not an angry person, but anger is just an emotion. It's an emotion that we all experience. You can't discount an emotion. And I also found it really hard to cry. You know, I thought that crying in other people was totally fine. You know, I was very empathic for other people crying, but for me to cry, it felt like a weakness. And I think through plant medicine, I was just able to get in touch with my feelings so much more, and just realize that it's okay, you know, it's fine. And actually, it's a huge release. It feels so good afterwards. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, Emma.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been like a little, you know, as everything is, it's like a little journey. And I realise now, looking back, that things have happened at certain times, and plant medicine has kind of acted, as I call it, a bullet to my soul. You had it described as the door. I think I know as a child, I very good at not feeling, and I started to, as I said, I used food to numb my emotions. I've used many things. And I think if you are a child that has had trauma in your life, your body goes into shutdown, so you go into fight, flight and freeze, and so part of that is obviously not feeling, and I think plant medicine just goes boom, yeah, we're gonna open the door so that your head can, as Hannah says, stops the thinking. But I mean, I remember, and I think plant medicine for me is kind of similar to traumatic events, in terms of the day my father died. Actually, I had the weirdest energetic explosion. I only describe it as this. I kind of wasn't in control of my body, kind of similar to psychedelic therapies, you know, where your body is just literally releasing energy. And I talked to a therapist I was talking to about 3 hours afterwards, and she said, brilliant. And at the time, this was my first like understand. I didn't really get all that kind of stuff because I was such a good girl. I was just like, no, this is why my dad is like he is, and this is why I'm like I am, and I understand it all, and it all makes a lot of sense, and I'm going to carry on getting on with my life. Thank you very much. And again, you know, even 2 years after cancer, I was like, no, not feeling this. But then, yeah, she said, great. I'm really glad, because actually your father's death has helped to open that little box in there that is keeping all those feelings inside. And I've been trying to open that box with you, you know, with talking and all the rest of it. So it just, for me, I needed plant medicine. I needed something to take me out of this, because I'm so up here, and not everybody does. You know, some people need other things, and there's so many different ways to deal with trauma, so many different ways. But I think the key is recognizing what works for you, and understanding your past, and understanding why you are the way you are. And maybe, you know, certain emotions have led you to certain trains of thought that have then manifested in your body. And, you know, the body is so unbelievably clever. I mean, there's a lovely phrase: your body will whisper to you unless you don't, and if you don't listen, it'll shout. Well, you know, like you, Hannah, I had a disease back in 2007, which was 7 years before I got cancer, you know, and I changed my life then a little bit, you know. I started a little bit of natural supplements and, you know, did this, and then I didn't drink for a bit, and then, you know, I carried on with my job, and then I started drinking again, and you know what I mean, and got back into that. And then it was like, boom, okay, we have cancer this time. It's like, okay, you didn't listen hard enough last time, did you? So, yeah, I just, the body's so clever. And I think people discount, me included, this connection. We are one. We are one energetic being. And yeah, it comes back to the energy again. So
do you think if someone has acknowledged either some trauma, or like you say, the body is starting to send them signals, do you think that plant medicine might be, I mean, it's different for everybody, of course, but might be the right way if they're at the foundation with acknowledgement, and maybe speaking about it is, you know, it's like you can speak about it, but they really just want to kind of like get rid of it and just kind of move on. Is it something that you would recommend for people that are at that stage in their journey? Or I guess I'm just going to, leave that there.
It's so hard to say. I mean, Emma touched on the fact that it isn't for everyone, and I think that's really key. I would never say this is what everyone should do. I think everyone who tries plant medicine goes through a phase where they want to tell everyone about it if it's helped them. Because, of course, if any of us have found anything that's helped us, we want to tell everybody about it.
Of course.
But it is really important to highlight that it isn't for everyone, and not everyone can do it either, depending on your mental state, depending on what medications you take. But I would say, I mean, you know, there is a real spiritual side to it, and it isn't for everyone. And a lot of people go on recommendations. A lot of people, you know, if I said to Emma, oh wow, I've had this amazing, you know, epiphany through this, and it might spark an interest in Emma, and that's quite normal to get recommendations from people. But I think it's really important to feel into, have you got a calling to do this? You know, for me it was just instantly, as soon as I heard the word Cambo, I was like, oh, okay, what is that? And I really experienced saying the word Cambo to people, and they just don't listen. They can't even hear what I'm saying. They just shut down. So it's almost like, if it isn't for you, you just won't hear it. You won't be attracted to it. There's no point in pushing yourself to do it. If you feel like doing it, then great. But in answer to your question, it could be helpful to someone at that level, in my opinion, but it really depends on their circumstances.
Clear, very clear. Well, ladies, I know we could talk about this for hours, but keeping with the Cafe DM half an hour, I just want both of you, Emma and Hannah, to say, if somebody is being called to this and really, you know, whatever it may be in their life, what should they look for? And because, you know, we've heard the stories of people going to places where they shouldn't be. And so just some like general safe guidelines about people that might be looking to experiment with this to get rid of, again, whatever's going on in their life. So how you found out, Emma, and then Hannah, from a facilitator's point of view, just some safety around it, please. So Emma, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about trusting your intuition. You know, if it feels right, and you know, for me, I went to a retreat 2 years ago, and I listened to this and not to this. And I did, you know, 2 lots of ayahuasca, Cambo and Bufo, and whoa, my poor little system was like, you may as well be traumatizing me again, you know, and that was my ego. I didn't need to do that. And it's work in progress, isn't it? So I think it's listening. It's really important to find the right facilitator. You know, I would never do Cambo with anyone else other than Hannah now, because she's so nurturing and loving. And she's, you know, and it's about, I think it's, you know, talking to the person. Why are they a practitioner? Why are they doing it? Is it because they want to make loads of money, or because they're cool, or because they want to get high? Or is it because they really feel that connection to their spirit, to, you know, and they want to heal? That is a big thing, I think. Hannah, have you got anything else that you...
I mean, similarly, I would do some research. I would get recommendations. You can have different experiences at the same place, of course, but I would definitely get recommendations, and I would speak to the people that you're planning on doing it with and ask them questions, be curious, make sure you can afford it, and make sure it doesn't feel too expensive, because it shouldn't be too expensive, I don't think. and to even meet with them, and just a key thing is, even if you find yourself there and you don't feel right, you don't have to go through with it. It's kind of, you do need to feel into if the person's right. But I think have a telephone conversation with them, ask them questions, and hopefully they should ask you questions too. That's a bit of a sign if they're not really asking you anything, and how much information they give you. So yeah.
Cool.
And also, can I just add as well? I think it should be part of a whole healing picnic, so to speak. There are so many ways to heal trauma, so many ways, from as much as hanging out with your friends and drinking weird coffees and laughing and, do you know what I mean, dancing and singing and all. There's so many ways to heal your nervous system, and plant medicine is a big part of it. But don't you agree, Han?
Yeah, and you need to have support, and this isn't necessarily a one-off thing, and it needs to be combined with changing your life. Otherwise, like you said with that quote, you have to want to change. Nothing's going to make you change. You have to want to change things, and I think there's a several pronged approach to healing anything. So, yeah, like I said before, it's not a magic wand, do this and you're fixed.
No. And I would imagine that 2020, as it has for most people, has brought on a lot of emotion, a lot of fear, a lot of everything right now. So, and everybody's kind of sitting with it because they've had nothing else to do in their homes for the last however many months. And this will be a year. We know mental health has gone skyrocketing, and suicide and everything. So for people who do need help, you can reach out to Hannah, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Emma, or just even your friends and family. And friends and family, make sure that you're reaching out to your network as well, and just letting them know that they're loved, that you're there for them, and no matter what, they've got support, and that's so important right now. So whatever it happens to be for everybody. Any final words, ladies, before we wrap up? I know we could talk about this forever. We've only just touched the surface, really.
Yeah, we really have. I mean, it is such a huge subject. But I would say one thing is just that really to help with your emotions. There's like you were saying, I can't remember which one of you said it, but we've kind of for years, someone comes to the hospital and they're obese and they get a gastric band. We don't look at the reason. We're starting to a lot more, but we don't look at the actual cause, which could be depression, could be lots of things. And in the same way, mental health has been kind of disregarded a lot more until more recently it's becoming something that's talked about a lot more in the mainstream. I think it's the same with, well, obviously emotions and mental health is linked, but I think it has become a bit more popular to consider emotions, and just there's a few people out there that are really kind of leading the way in it, and some of those people like GABOR Mate, LAURENCE, and Peter Levine, he talks about really looking to animals and looking to what they do, which I know you've touched on before, but his somatic experience therapy it's all about, an animal will shake it off, and just something in our mind stops us because we think it's a bit silly, but shaking is just like move and dancing. And I think talking about what's happened this year, a lot of us have moved to this island because we like to dance, and I'm feeling that loss hugely. I think it's definitely a way that I shake it all off is by dancing, and dancing with people as well, not just on my own. So yeah,
it's really, really important, isn't it? Yeah, it's really good point.
I just realised recently how important that is, actually, even though I've been doing it for however many, all my life.
Well, that's how the three of us became really connected, was trying to do a party for dancing, a sober party.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Actually, my final word actually would be about love. The emotion love, and that's connected to the dancing, because Morning Gloryville, which is what helped me get me through my cancer recovery, I needed to go raving because I couldn't go out, and it was that connection. But I remember a nurse saying to me when I was going through chemo, are you doing your gratefulness list, aren't you? And I remember looking at her and thinking, yeah, I'm bald, I've got one breast, no eyebrows, you think I've got something to be grateful about. And I didn't say that out loud, but I really wanted to. But that night, my ex and I started doing our gratefulness list, which was literally, what 3 things are we grateful for every day? And I've never stopped. And, you know, now I know the science behind that. You know, Han, you and I have talked about the loving kindness meditation, you know, the effect. It's all, again, it's going back to the energy that we've discussed. It's a vibration, the Schumann resonance, whatever it is, it's that connection feel. And cancer survivors, you know, Radical Remission, the book, it talks all about, so important to connect to your heart and have a reason for living, and to embrace those positive emotions, and yeah, go back to this, you know.
And yeah, sorry, just off the back of that, I would say the key thing for me is about changing my life and bringing real joy into my life is just really listening, that we've talked about so many times, but, you know, included, I forget to do it. You know, we all need to take the time, you know, just moment by moment, just to breathe and just to listen to our bodies and feel into if something feels good or not. But just to really think about our choices and really feel deep down, does this bring you joy? You know, does this make you happy? It's okay to say no to people, you know, it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay but to really just feel into what's right for you and what makes you happy, because we forget as adults, actually. It's usually what made you happy as a child. But to really kind of feel into that's what's helped for me, and actually just be honest with myself and be like, this stuff's been great for all these years and served me for all these years, but is it serving me now?
Mm-hmm.
Clear, very clear. And I would agree that most of us that end up in Ibiza have hit that point, and that's why we all end up in Ibiza. So yeah, for
100%.
sure. Cool. Awesome, ladies. I really appreciate it. I know that, like I say, for the 3rd or 4th time, we could be talking about this for quite some time, but we will get together over a real cacao, green, whatever it is you're drinking, Hannah, and coffee for myself. And we will continue the conversation. But for anybody who wants to get a hold of Hannah, and I suggest you find her on Instagram and follow her. And if you have any questions about anything that she's spoken about today, please get in touch with her. And it's Hannah Cambo Spirit. And that, of course, will be in the description box below and just below as well. So just quick and easy one on Instagram. And we do need to talk about who's coming on next week, Emma, because we have another special guest, and she fits into our Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Sarah Hodgson. So tell me, you have a few minutes here to tell us why Sarah's going to come on next week.
So all of this is obviously about energy and how cancer is a lack of energy in the body. And last week we talked about external energy and the effect on our mitochondria, the nature and earth. Today we've talked about the effect of our own internal energy and how we can improve it and how we can balance it. Next week, Sarah, who is an expert in non-native electromagnetic frequencies. So obviously nature, we are surrounded by natural electromagnetic frequencies, the sun, etc., good energy, but unfortunately mankind has created this world that we're living in where we are being zapped by frequencies that aren't good for us, and our nervous systems and our vagus nerves hate it. Mm-hmm. So Sarah Hodgson is an absolute, she's a wonderful lady, and she came to stay in Ibiza, loved it, got the magic, and she has got so much experience in this. She's healed herself, or is healing herself, from hypersensitivity syndrome, and is now helping to heal others. Mm-hmm. And she has a vast array of all these amazing machines that can test things like, you know, what's the EMF aspect there, but also where in the earth can you find the highest energetic point for meditating, for sleeping. Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Awesome. So we look forward to her next week as we round our month of October off with our special co-host, Emma Sabin. All right. So that is us for episode 24 of the Cafe DM series, born out of lockdown. We're still in our living rooms. So I don't know if anybody's not wearing pants.
Not going to show you.
Dressing from the top up, which is quite funny. So if you do want to come say hello to Cafe DM, or if you want to come over to say hola, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and of course SoundCloud at Cafe DM Ibiza. And I would love to know if there's any guests that you would like to see on the program come December or January 2021. And then of course, if you're looking to get a hold of me, Unconditional Love Fitness on Facebook and Instagram. And then finally, I would love for everybody to let us know what their aha moment was, or if there's anything that resonates in Hannah's or Emma's story in the comments below, and we can pick up that conversation with the girls here as well. So thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, girls. So nice to have a little chat with the girls.
The witches. And we wrap up. So like I say, brewed in Ibiza out of a love for black coffee, early mornings, and well-being. This is Cafe Diem Ibiza bidding you adios from my guest Hannah Clarke, my special co-host Emma Sabin, and Michelle Reid. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Hannah.